right, guys, welcome back to the next episode of God's Grace, God's Timing is what we're going to cover today. My brother is finally here, so we're just going to pretty much keep off where we left off with the four of us. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to throw it in.
Yeah, baby.
Introduction. Go ahead. Tell you who you are.
All right, good afternoon. Happy Friday. So, as Matthew has said, I am his older brother. I am a proud father of two. Got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and an amazing wife at
He's got
home.
the mix up, though. He's got a
I'll
boy
say
and a
it's the
girl.
twos
Two
out here.
girls, two
Two.
boys.
Two
Two boys, yeah. Same age though. I got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, so it's right there,
Awesome.
man.
4 months.
And there's nothing like that at those ages. Just watching them come to life and
I'm
everything they're
telling you,
learning.
dude. They hit that like 2-3 mark. It's just everything after that starts making so much sense.
My daughter just like melted and broke my heart like 2 days ago because she climbed up on top of me. And it's one of those moments when you're kind of like down in your head as a dad, like, am I doing things right? And literally, she grabbed me by my face, hugged me, gave me a kiss, and all she said before she jumped off is, "Daddy, I'm happy." And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
Dude, I'd start
heals it
bawling like
all
a
right
baby.
there.
Yeah.
I'd start crying so hard.
Yeah,
literally, I had to like suck it down because I was gonna.
I'm
'cause I was
telling
just
you.
like, when I didn't even know how to feel. And then when I felt it, I was like, man, like,
It's that
all
love,
I
man.
need.
It's
It's
like why
love.
suck it down though. It's like, I get it. You don't want your daughter to see you crying. But it's not like you're weak. It's like, okay, like, that's her daughter making your dad happy. So I mean, I get it.
All right, so other than that, just a normal guy trying to work his way through life. Get
It's
my
a bit
freedom
like
out
Anakin
here.
Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker, yep.
Oh yeah, here we go with that. I'll take this. I'll take it because even though I think he's misunderstood a lot, I
He's a
think
good guy.
Anakin Skywalker, to a certain degree, is very selfless to where he will detriment himself for the betterment of others. Unfortunately, was naive enough to be controlled by somebody.
Mhm.
He
Just
did get
my
his
take on it.
redemption. It took a
Yeah, you got to
long,
think,
long
man.
time.
The,
He
the
got
whole
his
time, the whole
redemption.
point of him going to the dark side
Well,
was to save the woman he loved.
Exactly,
know?
to save the woman he loved. Well, but he flipped from the dark side back to the good side to save his son.
Yep.
So it's having that kind of motivation proves how selfless he truly was.
Okay. So yeah, I respect this. Is why, like, my brother, he heard this and it was crazy. Y'all were here live watching this recording, and my brother took away the one thing that I said about him and just like furious. He's like, I can't believe my brother called me corrupt. I'm like, but you look at it, okay? You look at the world and everything Anakin Skywalker did, and we're talking about God's timing of Obi-Wan and everyone in Star Wars. I'm about to nerd out for a second, guys. Don't worry about it. And like, you're going to be a master one day. Even right before everyone left him to go take out General Grievous, like, they will make you a master in time, patience on Padawan, patience, Anakin. And he's like, nah, screw that. Screw God's timing. I'm going to take it myself. And Palpatine's like, all right, now he's alone. Obi-Wan's gone. He's got all this stuff going on in his life. The love of his life's pregnant. He's, all this stuff going on got into his head. And, so like, that's what I meant by it. Just like everything I've watched my brother go through this past year, just growing up with him and raising me pretty much since, 6 years old when my parents got divorced. He's always rushing on top of, he's like, if I'm not there taking control of life, if I'm not there to grab life by its balls, essentially, sorry, pardon my language, it's not going to go his way, and that's something I admire about my brother. My brother is very driven, and that's something I said right after calling him Anakin Skywalker. I was like, he's very driven, independent. He takes the world for the taking, but there's things my brother does that I don't see eye to eye with, and that's fine. He's got his own journey with God, his own journey with faith and belief in it. We're going to cover that here in this next hour.
Definitely don't agree with the psychopath Anakin
It's
part.
just,
That's-
don't murder a bunch of children and stuff.
Don't
It's
do
like,
that.
okay, dying a little bit. But, that's what we're here to cover is God's timing of not rushing anything going on in your life, that promotion, that, fighting through that cancer, that heartbreak. Do I marry this woman? Is she right for me? Anything you're going to, do I buy that car? Do I buy that house? Anything you want, give it to God, pray on it. And then just, trust, like, patient. It'll come in time. Anything you need and want in life, God sees what's in your heart. He knows what you want, what you need truly, and he's going to provide a way for you. You can do it all wrong, and he's like, I'm still going to provide that way for you. Now you messed up. You had to deal with that heartbreak. You had to deal with that suffering, but you're still going to get it at the end of the day. So, what's your guys' thoughts?
No, you're not wrong. Honestly, like, going back to like how we were talking about with God's timing, like even with me over like the course of you knowing me and stuff, like a lot of it was me trying to force it on, like, no, it's my time, it's what I want. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also been the last couple years of me having to go through my trials and tribulations. But Lord actually humbled me and let me know, like, no, like, it's not your time, it's not when you want, it's
Knock that
not
off,
about
bro.
you, it's
Yep.
about my decisions, it's about my path, my story for you. And even going to, how we have kids, that was one of the first times in a long time back then, that I actually got on my knees and I prayed, is when the mother of my child and I broke up, and I kind of felt like I was spiraling before I found out she was pregnant. I literally got on my hands and my knees and I prayed and I said, you know what? My whole life I always come to you like for what I want, what I want. I was like, I'm done with that. Please, all I ask with this prayer, Lord, give me everything in this world you think I need, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And literally within the end of that month, I found out I was gonna be a dad.
Yep.
So there's no other way I can like explain that, but that was his purpose. Even like, and this is coming from me, I never wanted kids. I never wanted kids for multiple reasons. A lot of it was financial. A lot of it was like,
Yep.
growing up in a broken home because my parents were never married. They were never together. Actually, as soon as my father and my mother broke up within the coming years, I had all three of my younger siblings, and God bless them. I love them all. Like, I was never that sibling where I was like, oh, I looked at it like I was losing something. When my
Right.
parents broke up, my vivid memory, I even told my dad when he was explaining it all to me, I was like, are you still going to be here? That's it. That was the only thing I cared about. Like, are you still going to be around? And he's like, yes. I was like, then I don't care. And even when he brought up as far as my siblings, I was just so happy because I had three older siblings. They were so much older than me, in a sense of like, the closest older sibling to me is my older brother, and he got to almost 10 to 11 years on me. So, by the time I was, a certain age, he's a whole teenager, working in Hollywood video and everything. So there was that, almost a father figure aspect after a certain point from him as well. So just having that and being able to be in his role, in his shoes, I was so happy. I was so grateful for it, even as a little kid, because I'm like, yo, I get to do this now. I get to experience this. And yeah, like, it's a blessing. It is.
And being the only non-parent in the room, let's piggyback off that. Alex, you have your journey. Brother has his journey. Like, what was you guys' perspective? I know my brother a little bit raising me, but like you guys going through your life and then dad.
I think
Dad,
so for me it's like I never really planned to be a dad like super late in my life. I didn't want to be 85 when my kids graduated college. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, I got to have kids by at least the time I'm 55. Right. And which for a lot of people, that's real late. And I never planned to have them when I was, I had my first son when I was 20 years old. I had my second son when I was 21. Never really planned to have them that early in my life, but I'm all thanks to God that it did, because it made me the man that I am, put me in the situations that it put me in. But, at the same time growing up, like all I had was little brothers. I had one older brother. I had a little brother that was born a year and a half after me. And then I had a little brother that was born a couple years after that. And for the longest time, it was just us. And then boom, my little sister comes along in 2008 and we're all like, okay, we all kind of got this macho big brother aspect in our lives now where we have to protect her and raise her. But, I'm at that point now where I'm almost 9-10 years old, and I'm looking at it like, not only do, I now have a little sister, but I got to help, my mom and my dad you're looking at people that are working 12, 13-hour days. My dad's working in the winter from 2 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the morning. Then he's coming home. And then while we're at school, he's going out to work again. He can't watch, my little sister. Mom's working 5 to 5 in an office. My grandma's over here watching us more often than not, not to bash my parents. You guys are great parents. I love you. I understand why you did what you did and how hard you worked.
It takes a village, man.
It takes a village, and I'm sitting there and I'm coming home from school these days. And, my little sister, Emma, she's 2-3 months old, just a beautiful baby, man, real small thing. And I'm helping my grandma, I'm changing diapers, I'm giving her food, I'm doing all this stuff. And for the first time in my life, I'm almost feeling what it's like, not just to be a big brother, but to be, in a fatherly role as someone that's caring and providing for this child. Fast forward, 13 years later, here I am with 2 sons now. And, it takes a village, man. You can't raise kids on your own. You're going to have support from somebody, whether it's, your mother, father, friend, brother, sister, whatever it might be. Every bit of help matters. So, for me to want kids a little later in my life and then find out when I come home from the military that I'm going to have a son for the first time, I was like, man, I'm not ready for this. And I was working at a men's warehouse selling rental suits for weddings. Okay. I had like maybe $30 in my bank account when I found out. It was terrible. and I left that to go do insulation construction for a little while to make some money, save up for it. But you know, even then, and I'm sure you guys can attest to it, even when the kid first gets there, you're still not financially ready for it. You could have $1 million in the bank, you're not going to be ready enough for it, man.
And
It's terrible, but
it's actually bigger than finance because it's like, no, you're just not ready for a period.
That's what I'm
You don't
saying.
know until like the doctor gives you and you finally leave the hospital. It's like, no, like it's not what you.
It ain't even money, man. I remember the night it happened. I'm driving 120 there to the hospital. I remember coming back 5 weeks later because my first time I was in the NICU for a while. I'm driving 20 miles an hour under the speed limit. I'm missing every pothole. I'm missing every bump and curve. So it's man, you talk about driving around like you got styrofoam on your hands. That's about as good as it gets right there.
Yeah, you're not lying. Especially like when you're bringing them home because they're still so small for that.
It's
initial car seat.
terrifying, man.
You're like, no, don't hit that. No,
Yeah,
don't turn
dude.
too
I'm
tight.
looking in the mirror the whole time, like, you good back there? My son's just passed out. He's living his best life, I guess.
Yeah, I think one thing that people don't ever realize, because they'll say it all the time, oh, I'm not ready to have kids yet. And as far as like for me, I always wanted to have kids. I mean, I entered into a parental role very young. Not by any means I do that correctly at all, but being a child myself, still had zero idea what to do. So unfortunately, my little brother was guinea pigged.
He
But
turned out pretty good.
yeah, no.
He had you wearing diapers at 7 years old. It was crazy.
But nobody is, you guys are definitely right on that. Nobody's ever ready. But what's crazy is once it happens, like if you ever wanted more motivation in your life, go have kids.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you.
For real.
Because you
I'm
don't
telling
even
you.
know what you're capable of.
You'll
until that.
start getting jobs. You'll start making money. You'll be so happy at points, but you'll also, you'll hit that point where something's going to go wrong, and your immediate thought is, why me?
It paints a whole new perspective into your mind of how to navigate this world, which choices you should make. And I mean, I'm a very risk-on person. It's just a trait I have. I have enough faith in myself that, I'll make a decision, probably pretty risky. And even if it goes completely south, I'll find my way out of it.
Yep.
It's probably just through a lot of trial and error. But with that, I'm still a risk-on person, but when it comes to my family, safety plays come in a little bit more.
I'm telling you.
And
You're like, I might have ran across this street as a kid when the stoplight was flashing, but now I'm gonna wait for that walk signal.
right, yeah.
I'm gonna wait.
The one thing I actually heard a lot lately is, if we ever talk about finances and success levels, people always say they want something in life and they
100%.
want to achieve some type of thing, but yet they can't ever find the motivation. And in this video, the question was asked that, what's the percentage that you give yourself if I gave you 1 year to grow a successful business? And let's just say something like you got to do $1 million.
Yep.
What would you give it yourself as a percentage?
I'm
Most
looking,
people,
I'm looking at
just
25% success rate, maybe.
that's pretty high. I give you the credit on that, but
I'll give me a solid
I'm gonna-
4.
I'm gonna try really hard for the first 6 months, and then I'm just gonna tank.
now what if I told you that you had to do it in 1 year, or it's your family's livelihood?
Oh, I'm going all in.
Yeah.
So now you're 100%
I'm not
confident, right?
going to
Yeah.
fail.
I'll
I'm
let
not going to
myself,
fail.
Like die of sleep deprivation.
Oh,
Before I fail
100%.
at
Dude,
that.
I'll hallucinate the first
Honestly.
2 weeks in because I'm just not going to stop working.
Yeah.
But
for real.
that's kind of the trick, is nobody really realizes that how motivating they can make themselves. And all you have to do is trick your brain into thinking that, and then you can just start doing wonders of this world.
Well, can I speak for like fathers here? Like,
Yeah.
as much as you loved him, as much as you loved the mother of your kids, it wasn't until they put your kids in your arm that there was finally something in this world besides
Dude, I'm
God that
telling
you
you.
love more than yourself. That like, no, like this comes before me. Every left, every right, like it don't matter. This comes before me always.
100%.
It hit me really hard too with my first son because he was born 5.5, almost 6 weeks premature, right? So he real little dude, like 16 inches long, 4.5, 5 pounds maybe.
I bet
And
she's massive now.
Dude, he's huge. He's like,
weird how
he's
that
like
works.
this tall
Yeah,
for
it's
4
crazy.
years old. He's like 80 pounds. He's a tank.
The run's always like Clifford.
I'm
I'll tell
telling you. But I'm sitting in this NICU, right, for 5.5 weeks. I'm not going home. I'm not working. I'm not showering. I'm just sitting there. And he's in his Billy blanket with the Billy lights. And he's got his little fabric sunglasses on, just living. Didn't care about nothing in the world. He's just hanging out. And I'm sitting here every waking moment. I hear, doot, doot. I'm just waiting for something bad to happen. In the instance that I can think in that moment that I can protect my son, as if I had any medical training that's going to save anything that might happen. But for me, it was, if something's going to happen, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that my son survives this. If for some reason I do not, the reason I didn't leave, what if someone comes into the hospital on, some vengeful, driven mission and tries to hurt people? It's not going to be my son. I didn't care about anyone else in that hospital except my kid in that moment. And if hospital's burning down, I'm grabbing him, getting out. I don't care about anybody else. I'm not going back. It's just him. And it's like, you look at me 2 years before that, I never would have done that. If I'm in the hospital getting some stitches and the hospital burns down, oh man, I'm running out. I'm not going to go back in for I saved my own life. But if it's, if I'm here, my son's 500 rooms away in a hospital, and that side of the hospital, you better believe I'm running at a full sprint down that hallway. And I'm going to get to that door and I'm going to get back out.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's the most precious, best gift you could ever receive is also your total responsibility to save first, A lot of people will look at that as selfish, but I mean, if we go into a tribal thing, it's just what you do. I mean, you're going to put your kids first, you're going to put your family first and all that. I think it's just a father nature thing. I mean, mothers are even crazier with it. They got those weird, sixth senses when it comes to protection of their child, but yeah, dads will go all in.
Yep.
All right, well, now, like I said, you got that out of the way, you got the little bonding exercise. Well, now let's put God into it, okay? So, like I said, we're talking about God's timing of, you guys all realized when you guys were going to be a parent of, your life scripted and well, now what am I doing for myself? I have to do this for my kids. And my brother did this for me my entire life too. And that was probably what also, again, got me where I am, of being able to put my life in his shoes and then watching him then become a dad and seeing everything was like, okay, if anything would have been any different, with my parents, if they had him before marriage, then they had me after marriage. And it's like, if anything could have went wrong, if my brother wasn't here to raise me, I would be completely different. I might not be on my journey with God, anything like that. So, I'm not my brother's kid, but, he treats me like 100% every day of my life.
You'd still be playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I would say being big brother, just to let you know you're always gonna be our little brother.
Well, right, but it's
with
him. It's not like it's not a big brother thing. It's like this is my son action type thing.
No,
so
but that's what I'm saying. Like he looks at you still as this man.
Right.
Always that's what
he's never gonna see you as 6 foot.
I saw that picture of it's like baby brother. The baby brother is 26 years old. I'm like, that's literally me. And I'm a grown man. He's like, you're like 4.
But it's like the three of us sitting here as a big brother aspect. I know it's the same thing because I got 2 little brothers. I still look at them like they're babies, man.
Well, yeah. So if we go on to your topic about God's time or whatever, I was always very protective of you, even to degrees of a little controlling, dictating your life, trying to make sure you're on a right path. For me to have my kids at that point, that was then the time for me to pull back on you and let you enter into your own life. I always looked at it as I was trying to protect and do a betterment, a service for you. And the reality is as a dad now, like I said, it just paints a whole new picture where I realized a lot of these are your dragons to slay, and I was trying to slay them for you, which honestly probably hindered a lot. And, so on timing, maybe there's a degree of, well, you think you can have kids and, you want them, maybe you're not ready, but here's one for you. And now you can let go of that part of raising your brother, let him become his own man. And all the lessons you've learned from that growing up, you can now apply or, do better and have your second chance. I've also been a very, very hard person, hard and cold person in this world. I mean, I've always tried to put others before myself, but I never felt soft until I had my daughter.
I'm telling you.
My daughter changed that.
As soon as I had my little sister, man, I'm telling you.
You
Any shot of me
soft,
being
it's,
hard went out the
funny
window.
Because my mother spoke on that in the sense of my daughters, because she's she says she believes that's why I had daughters. It's because you need to be softer for women and on women. Because you see what you see on social media and everything, and it's just I look at it so yeah, there's the lust side, but it's no, as a man and what you really want, and especially now with having a daughter, it's so distasteful. It was even something as simple as a song accidentally came out on Spotify when we were in a car.
Terrifying.
Turn that off immediately.
Terrifying.
Playlist. And I looked at her because I kind of realized what we were listening to. I was like, bro, what are we listening to right now? And she's like, what? Well, bro, she's change this. She don't need to hear this. No, Yeah, because it's just like, you know how it is nowadays with the music.
My
and
3-year-old
the
daughter
women
doesn't need to be
artists.
listening to Cardi B right now.
It's just,
None of y'all
Grounded.
do.
you're steady as a father. I feel like uphill battles because you don't want them to be exposed to certain things, and then it's gonna get to age like, okay, how much should you expose them to? Like as far as just knowledge for their protection, for them to know. Like my daughters one day, as far as like they're gonna be young women and everything, they need to understand you are safe here in your tribe. You are loved here. You are protected here. But once you leave this house, once you leave this, that's not always gonna be the case, and you need to be able to tell the difference and be able to make decisive decisions, and sometimes quick, because it could be whether you're safe or you're harmed.
This world is a bad place, man. I feel like a lot of people take it lightly.
I know that. Like, it's a scary place. I couldn't imagine having, I said a daughter or just even a kid in that matter. Because it's like, yeah, no, that's terrifying.
And sorry, and this is my last one. It's a father thing too, because I'm just curious. When you're out and you're with your tribe, you're with your children. Where are your kids when you walk?
In front of me or next to me.
Yeah, same.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not.
Yes,
I'll
both-
never let
like,
my
the
kids
parents
walk
I
behind
see
me.
when like their kids are like a mile behind them. Like, what are you doing?
What's
Like,
stopping
what are
someone
you
from
doing
hurting
right
your
now?
child?
Like, it takes a second for your whole life to change
Yeah.
and for your kids' lives to change. Like, what are you doing? You know the world we live in. Like, get them in front of you. Keep them in your sight. Keep them within your reach. Like,
I'd rather
you
my
never know.
I'd rather either one of my sons runs 20 feet in front of me than 5 feet behind me.
Right.
I can cover 20 feet pretty quick. I'm a younger athletic dude, albeit I wake up and my body cracks and breaks, but
The,
And I'm
the only
worried
time,
about when I hit 30 if that's gonna happen.
it's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna be in so much pain.
I mean, there will be times like, in a store or whatever, we're at a park. All right, come on, we're going to go. And,
Yeah.
a baby girl doesn't want to come. It's like, all right, bye. And you will start walking. But yeah,
100%.
you never really lose sight
Oh
of
yeah,
them.
never.
If I had a dollar,
Like,
for
like
every
you,
time
you
my
use that
mother
as
used that on
motivation.
me.
Like, hey, we're going to leave without you. Like, are you sure you want to make this
Mhm.
choice? And
It's
then
a
they
little-
come.
It's a little scare tactic. Just
Yeah,
get some
it-
pep in the step.
Joke's on you, Dad. I got Twinkies over here. That's great.
I mean, parenting is difficult, especially, for the dark, because it is so scary. But I think as a father, I say on a timely basis, it teaches you something new that you never even thought of.
Mhm.
Because I got my buddy Jacob. He's man, bless this guy. I've never seen chivalry so alive before in my life. I've always been someone who I'll open up doors for women at like a building.
All right.
Every time he will open the car door for his girl. And I was
That's-
like, oh
It's
my
respect
God.
right
And
there.
I was like, I need
It
There's
is-
times where I
how
forget.
much
Don't
of
get
a
me wrong,
POS
but
am I? I don't do
yeah,
this no
right.
more.
Yeah, you
But
start
now-
looking at it, you're like, damn, what am I doing
But
wrong?
once I found I was having a daughter, it's like, oh, I have to implement this
Yeah, man.
because
You gotta
I need to
instill
her to
that in
understand
whatever
like,
guy.
what this is.
This is
So-
the standard.
and I still slack on this from time to time, but I'm trying to get better and better of doing this with my wife. And then because now my son's watching me, so he's watching what he needs to do. And my
Yeah.
daughter's watching how she should be
Yes.
treated.
100%.
I think, having a daughter, she's got to have a special spot that no other woman, including your girlfriend, your wife, will ever have, because then she knows that she can trust you with it.
100%.
And if you can build
That's,
that
that's
trust,
how you get them to come to you when they're 16, 17 years old and they have their first
tell you
real
that-
life
yeah.
problem. You don't want you want them to have the confidence. Not, oh, I'm going to go to mom with this because she's a woman too. I'm going to be like, I want to go to dad with this because dad's been there.
and then when she does go out into the real world and
Mhm.
you're not there, you don't know what's going to happen. But
You
by
got that
instilling
faith.
all those behaviors, like when she's looking for a man, really what she's going to look for is someone who can compare to you.
100%.
And it's like the amount of responsibility on that. Like we talk about a timely thing, that'll shape a dude up real quick, how to become a proper man in this world. Because
And I'm telling you, you want
if
to
you
talk
don't
about
do it, she's
you want to talk about raising daughters, man's raising sons. If you ain't raising them to uphold the standard that you're trying to set for your own daughter,
oh yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. That's my fear with having a son.
Yep.
But it's not because of me. It's just like so many men of my name and my blood have failed in certain situations. Even situations I've been in, and I can proudly say, no, like I passed my test. Like I passed, that moment the Lord put me in the sense of like I didn't do something dishonorable. I didn't do something that man shouldn't do. And other people in my family, even down to my little brother, have done that. And I'm like, that scares me because
Yeah.
there's so much of that in my bloodline to the point where it's like, it's almost like they try to just, it happens. And it's like, no, it don't just happen. That's your reaction. You reacted poorly. You did something you shouldn't do. And something even you told me since I was younger to never do. because I'm supposed to protect, because I'm supposed to like be the shield, not the fist, not the hand. Like, you know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Like, so like that's what scares me from having a son, to know like could instill that in him, and he could still like fall short on that, and it ain't got nothing to do with me. I guess it's got to do with like a poor moment in judgment, poor situation, and I can't be there to take that test for him. That's his test.
Having a son, at least from my perspective, is, I mean, both kids, it's almost training every single day, but my son, it's real training. You know, like, so my son just entered into K4, and his first few days, super excited to go to school, like, couldn't wait to get inside.
Now he hates.
Next few days, like, I mean, he's starting to tear up. He don't want to go
Yeah.
in. He's like, I don't want to go. And, you know, as a dad, like, it still hurts. Like, you don't want to see
Oh,
your kid like
100%,
this,
yeah.
but you have to hold face because he needs your strength to survive
Yeah.
this. And that's one of those moments where you got to be
Yeah,
like,
hey, buddy, I know
it's time to
sucks,
become
but
brave.
You gotta go.
I need you to go, and you push him into that
Yep.
that first dragon, right? And then he's got to learn to tackle it. And sometimes that takes maybe a week, and he's just now coming out of that. But you know, if we talk about violence and all that, I mean, actively, I put both kids will be going to this, but my son's already starting martial arts.
There you
And
go.
see, I
Because
commend that, because I agree with that in the sense of just self-defense. Every child needs that.
self-defense, but again, it's honestly teaches you more control of your mind than anything. I mean, the
100%.
most dangerous men in this world have full control of their emotions. And when you lose control of your emotions, when you become real fearful, that's when you make those critical mistakes. So
Yep.
honestly, the more tests you can give your son to challenge those fears and help him learn to overcome those, you know, co-regulate with them, trial and error. Again, that didn't work this time. What could you do next time? It's just going to set them up to where he will hold your standards. And then again, it's off of your actions, because you say one thing but do the opposite, then
Yeah.
he's just going to do what you do. Monkey see, monkey
He's
do.
just
Now,
gonna mirror what you do.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's why, you know,
And
that
to add to how you said about control, I actually think that's really cool that you brought that up too, because I was just actually talking to my mother about one of my younger cousins, my uncle's son, and I guess he been in, was it karate or taekwondo since he was real young, but for the longest they wouldn't move him up in belts, and it wasn't because he couldn't do it or he wasn't skilled. They even told my uncle like, no, he's lacking control. So until he gets his control, his mental control, we're not moving him up. He's staying where he's at. He's shown the skill, but he's not showing the discipline. So like, yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree.
by the way, this episode is completely about being a father and parenting.
It really is. I ain't gonna lie, we turned into that.
No, I appreciate all three of you guys, because you know, if there are fathers out there, like I said, we talked about mental health not being alone. Of if you guys are having questions, this is great. You know, you have three different dads from three different backgrounds, three different cultures, and it's like they all did it differently. But you know, I don't think any of them would probably do some things differently. You know, like I said, protecting your kids, you guys are all on point on that stuff. You know, but like I said, I do want to pick you up. Like I said, we got time of like my brother did raise me, and I was the guinea pig. You know, I will take that. But in my mind, looking back as a grown up now, of all the things I hated his guts for, I was like, why are you doing this to me? Let me do my own thing, let me fail. You know, so I don't understand it of me having a kid yet, but I understand it of the fact of like he went through a lot of this stuff, and I watched some of it I didn't see. But I could see, you know, he's distilling this in me. He doesn't want me to fail because, you know, I guess no parent wants to see their child fail or their little sibling fail. You know, and I don't have the younger sibling. You guys have that. I don't have that. So, you know, it was very frustrating for me growing up of like, you know, why am I having to, you know, live life differently, you know, being, you know, having two fathers essentially, my dad who supports the roof over my head, and the dad is raising me, you know, and doing everything he can, you know, as a 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, he's like living his own life, but also making sure that everything he learns, he's instilling upon me. Um, so, you know, of knowing the grace of, okay, like everything my brother put me through, of now when I go through trials, I go through, you know, a heartbreak, I'm going through and having to fix my own tire, you know, I'm fixing anything through life. I've learned that stuff. Of my brother had to go through this of critical life of how to, like, well, you're going to raise a 6-year-old, you're only 9, you're only 10, you're going to figure it out, you know, because our parents weren't in the right state of minds to raise either of us. They were both doing their own thing, but trying to provide for us. But now I can go through these lessons, and when I have kids, now I've gone through it on my own. I also have what my brother's taught me, how he lives his life and how he's a dad, and use that now to make my kids that much better than me. You know, so that is the thing I'm looking forward to one day when I do have kids, and if it is God's plan for me to be a father, is for that. But not even just for me; it's of my niece and nephew. You know, I'm the other male figure in their life, you know. And there's been instances where my brother's working, you know, and I lived with him for 22 years of my life, 23 years of my life. And they're also looking at me like, okay, what is Unky doing? You know, here's dad, here's he's Unky. It's funny, they don't call me by my name, they don't call me by anything else, just Unky, and I shall love it. It better never change. If I ever hear Matthew out of either of their mouth, I'm gonna
If that ever makes you
lose my
laugh
mind.
or feel away, just remind yourself. My niece's nephew called me Theo Pooh.
Is that like
No, like
cultural?
Winnie the Pooh, like
Oh, Winnie the Pooh.
P-O-H.
I used to do that too. Yep, like when
See,
I was little,
I'm just dad.
I had
so-
speech. I had speech impediment, so you know it was a problem. I still do, as you all can see. Y'all live this
You
action.
100% just said it. Speech
I
impediment.
speak not proper at all. You know, English is my only language. But I would go up to my brother, you know, knowing he's my older brother, you know, and I couldn't say some syllables. So I was trying to say boo boo bear. I couldn't say the B syllable, so I said D. So I was like doo doo bear, and I'd roast him in front of his friends. Like I said, it just put a lot of perspective with me of, you know, watching them of like, they're like, okay, like, hey, like I'm gonna have to watch my niece and nephew, and everything my brother distilled upon me, and you know, his patience, you know, sometimes his vengeance of things that he's like, you have to learn this. And you know, it was very hard for me as a kid. But when, you know, my nephew has questions, if I'm put in a situation where I have to watch my nephew in that park, I have that aspect. My brother can go to work and not like my kid's gonna get kidnapped. My kid's gonna, you know, watch a poor example of, I have that now as well, where, you know, I don't know about your guys' siblings, of how you trust your kids with them and how they are around their niece and nephew.
Cautiously.
Which he still does. You know, we're going to a park, and you know, you
I'm
have
checking in every 20
it's mall
minutes.
cop, and he's just sitting in the background, just glasses on, just looking like a cop. And I'm walking
telling you.
right. I'm
you
walking.
start noticing things you never thought you'd notice.
And I'm just playing with my niece and nephew. He's just like,
That guy's jacket looks like it's poking out a little at the waistband. I don't like that.
right. And you know, he obviously has full trust in me, but still, it's like, okay, like, you know, these are not my kids. Those are his kids. He's gonna put them before me, which is perfectly fine. You know, of now he's let the reins go of me, and now his kids are first. But it's been very awesome to see, especially, you know, my nephew and my niece very early on, of like, I've seen babies all my life, but when I put them in my arms, I'm like, I am second to take care of them. You know, these are not just my niece and nephew, these are my brother's kids and my sister-in-law's kids. You know, anything that happens to them, you know, would destroy me and destroy them. So like, I have to distill everything that was taught to me into them as well, and make sure that, you know, when they were around, my first thing is not myself. I'm not cussing. I'm not doing dumb stuff. Is because my nephew's gonna be like, okay, what is?
Oh, you don't cuss,
you know?
period, because we're men of the Lord. We
He
don't do
gets
that.
two perspectives of, you know, he watches. Yeah. Again, everyone has their own journey. Again, that is me. God's called me out of a lot of chains in my life of living for the world, of, you know, again, it wasn't just for myself. If I want to do better, I don't want to speak negative into this world. I don't want to go out and party and drink and have, you know, sexual immorality and do this stuff. You know, I've done it. You know, my brother taught me about it. I watched him in his relationships and how he lived his life. You know, and he lived his life apart from God for a very long time because of the childhood we went through. But seeing, I was like, okay, like that's not what I've been called to do. And I tried, I was like, it's just not for me. You know, even though my brother's like, you know, this is how you get out of this, or this is what I do, you can do this is okay, or whatever. I went through it, but knowing that like I'm doing everything is for my niece and nephew as well. So when they're around, they're my first priority. Like, I have to watch what I say, what I do, how I treat my sister-in-law, how I treat the woman in my life around them, because my niece is like, okay, well, here's mom and dad, here's Unky, and probably, you know, the aunt of the family, you know.
Here's Doo-Doo Bear.
Exactly. Here's Doo-Doo Bear. So it's like, I have to, again, we talked about, when you're younger, you absorb all this information in, and, you know, the instance you had with that driver in the parking lot, that maybe been their kid, how dad gonna respond to this? Or how's this random stranger
you
gonna
got to
respond
think
to
about
this?
it too, man. It's like everything they're taking in now, it's going to reverse the script. This is exactly how they're going to raise their
Treat you,
kids too,
exactly.
man.
They're gonna treat you when they're older.
They're
gonna
going to
treat
get to
their
that
kids.
16, 17 and start being like, no, you taught me to do it this way. And then they're going to get to that 20, 25, 30, whenever they have their kids, and they're going to be like, no, I'm teaching them this way because that's how I learned from my mom and dad.
Correct.
So it's up to you, you know, reverse those bad family habits, produce these children with love and emotion and all the spirituality that you can, but still make sure that they are prepared for the world.
Correct.
And the spirit.
And that's been a blessing for me. My brother got to trial run with me, and I get to trial run with my niece and nephew, of like, if I want to have kids, you know, he's like, hey, you're going to watch your nephew. Or like he took, my nephew's in K4 and he's like, you're going to watch your niece, just your niece. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Just me and this little girl in the house. What do you want to do today?
So do you want to get Raising Cane's?
Everywhere she wants to go, I have to go. She's like, you want to go? I want to go outside. Sounds good. Let's go outside. I want to go to the park. I can't go to the park with you. You have to wait for dad to get back. I don't have the car seats. I have to watch everything. I'm so okay. It's a little 2-year-old running around the house. What
Can
am I doing?
Stick this fork in an outlet? No,
Yep,
God, no, please don't.
No, I want food, okay, and all that other stuff.
Yep.
And just watching just her and just like having to build practice with them. I get both genders, whether I have both boys, both girls, whatever God blesses me with. I've gotten to do this trial run, and as they grow up, they're going to not only come to their father, but they might be like, I'm afraid of dad. I messed up big time, I crashed my car. I'm gonna go to Unky real quick. I'm like, I got the same responses as your dad's gonna have. I'm not gonna yell at you, but I'm gonna be like, but I'm messed up. And
I wasn't paying your insurance. You don't gotta come apologize to me.
Right, exactly. He's gonna find out. I'm gonna tell him, like, the one thing I know about your father is he's gonna find out. Whether you want him to know or not, he's gonna know. And the same thing with our heavenly Father of you can't hide nothing from him.
I don't want no child in my family ever put me in that position because I know they'll come to me thinking like,
don't use me as a witness.
I'm gonna help you. But just know I'm picking up the phone ASAP.
I'm snitching. I'm snitching.
I'm snitching.
I'm snitching. I'm telling your mom that you crashed your car. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm serious.
Well, so as I've told him, what I actually would love for him to be able to experience is to have that certain bond with my kids. That if my kids do, I hope that they feel comfortable enough to tell me anything. But if there is something that they feel like they don't want to or can't, that they have somebody else that is very similar that they trust in their life.
I feel like you'll always get that with kids, right, man? So it's like you can talk to them as much as you want. You can, hey, you can come to dad if you ever need something. There's always that one person, whether it be their mom, uncle, their aunt, whoever it is. Like for me, it's like when I have problems, I go to my mom first because I'm a mama's boy. That's just how it is. Shout out, mom. I love you the best. But there's also certain things that I won't tell my mom, and I'll only talk to my dad about, or I'll only talk to my younger brothers about. And there's the same thing for them. Like there's stuff that they'll talk to mom and dad about, and then there's stuff they'll only text me about. They're like, hey, bro, I'm in trouble. I need help. They'll only text that to me. They're not going to text that to mom and dad because mom and dad are going to be like, you're on your own. I got my little brother's backs every day of the week. I want that to be the same thing for my kids. But I also, I want to be like, come to dad. Dad's got your back every single time. But I can't expect them with every single problem in their life to come to me. It's just not realistic,
Yeah, no, for me, I actually, I'm not like that. I'm a little more of an open book. Like what I was telling you a little earlier, kind of it's just kind of an example. But my thing is lately, I really only confide into those who, how I said, they look for me. Like my cousin,
100%.
who's my older sister, even her recently asked her some stuff about, how our family on that side is making me feel in the sense of the distance we have right now. And the simplest response was don't overthink it. Don't you're not doing nothing wrong. You're doing what you gotta do. You're working, you're taking care of your kids. They know where you're at. You're not doing nothing wrong. And that's all I need to hear from her. Cause I'm you know what? I told her, I'm you're just from us growing up and how we've lived together compared to everybody else, it's you're up here. Like I said, that's my cousin, her dad and my dad are brothers, but I'm no, you're my sister. That's the respect and the love I have for you. I will always put you like that. And then as far as how you said with moms, that's always my go-to. That's my go-to parent. And even more so, I tell her everything. Even stuff where you probably wouldn't want to tell your mom, I've told her, but it's because there's that trust level. And it's also for example, my mom at 17, she had no idea, I was just started doing this, but I just started smoking. And probably 2 weeks after I started, my mom comes in my room and she's just looking at me as I'm playing the game and looking at me weird where I'm I finally paused, what's going on? And she's like, I just want to tell you I'm so proud of you because you never did this, that, and the third. And the last thing she said is you never smoked. And I just sat there stone faced, oh yeah, okay. And she walked out.
100%, mom, 100%.
My inner child on the inside, as soon as she closed the door, just sank. And
I'm telling you.
That's when I was 17. And on my 18th birthday, I came clean. I told her, Ma, when you said this? And she's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, nah. If you would have said that 3 weeks earlier, you would have been on the money. I was like, that's when I had started. But I did it because I felt like she deserved to know that.
Right.
I didn't have to tell her that. I could have waited. Even my siblings now, they tell my mom everything. But they tell her 20 years removed. Now they
right.
oh, I was doing this and that. And
when I was 13, I was a felon. It's what?
And my mom sits there and she's like, I didn't discipline you enough. I thought I disciplined you a lot. No, clearly I didn't do it enough.
That's how this is my baby sister, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Dude. I pray for her every day.
I mean, if we, go right back to, the whole topic of this, and we talk about time, your time, God's time, your path. Certain things I feel have to be done at certain, like, you're not ready until you really are.
100%.
You'll have certain doors put in front of you. So even when you are that craphead little kid, me, um, I actually really looked at it as I was able to get a lot of that out at a younger age.
Yeah.
And, I had a lot of resentment for, the lack of maybe parenting that I had. And now I just look at it like I'm grateful I have the parents I have. I'm glad I have the life I've had. Um, that taught me to be who I am today. And I wouldn't be that without any of those experiences. And even when there's a downside of a failure, what are we here to learn? How can I grow out of this? And, keeping that mindset, I know that doesn't really tie to God and religion as much, but that's kind of me keeping control of staying progressive in life and keep growing in it.
Yeah.
Just let nothing hold you back.
You got to think about it too. God's not going to open a door for you if you're not ready for it. It's that job, that money, that relationship, that dream. God's not going to open that door if you're not ready. Same thing with kids, man. God's not going to give you kids if he knows you're not ready.
I believe he'll open the door to learn the skills that you need to require what you want. And it's almost in a way that manifestation
100%.
thing. So if you say you want something, you better want every
Be
single thing.
prepared for
comes
that
with
door to open when it comes swinging.
I feel like personally I'm on the end of right now, and not in a bad way, but I'm on the end of like the Lord opened a door and I went through it and I didn't handle it correctly. So he had to remove
And
me
hey, and
from it
sometimes,
so
yeah,
that
and
I can be
sometimes he's
humble
got to
and
close the
get
door
rid of
until
my
you're ready.
ego so that I can, get ready for the next door or that next opportunity.
Yep.
But it's all on his time.
100%.
Like I said, I was a little egotistic and it was like me forcing it a little too, like, oh, this is my time.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in all reality, the Lord probably felt like, no, you got a little bit more growing up to do. You got a little bit more learning to do.
Yep.
And I forced it. He let me force it. He let me learn the hard way.
Shut that door right in your face. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
he's
that's
like,
what God does, yep.
Eventually, I'll open the window for you. But right now,
Again, like we talked about at the start of the year, it is God's timing. Again, it's like He might let you do that. But He's like, all right, you're gonna fail, and now once you get it, you're gonna be like, oh, see, I could have waited.
exactly.
But like he equips you with everything you need to get there. So He knows how great of a father my brother it was gonna be. Every sharp turn he did as a kid, but he knew, okay, well, this is what you're gonna have to deal with, and you want to be a dad one day, or you maybe never thought you'd be a dad one day. Well, in order to get there, you're gonna have to go through all this, the trials, whatever, heartbreak, everything, raising me. He did all this stuff. And that's what all of us, we go through stuff. We don't understand it. Talking about like blasphemy of like, well, God, why me? Don't ask why me. What is it for? And just taking what He's saying to you, what He's putting you through, and knowing, okay, like there's a reason for this somehow, whether I end up seeing it or not, I'm now equipped with whatever this is going to do for me. And then you may find out the next day, the next week, the next year, this makes sense. We talk about going to the chosen of Thomas losing the love of his life and Peter losing his child and didn't even know about it. He's on the road, and it's like He had to equip you with that. And He's like, I can't tell you why. I don't have the answer why, but it all makes sense one day. So
You'll be better for it. in the long
exactly.
run.
So it's been good, guys. This has been fantastic. It's not where I wanted it to go again. I thought it was
It's
going to be God's
7:01.
timing.
We overshot on time.
It was going to be 3 religious men, and then my brother coming in with his.
We're gonna have to we're gonna have to retitle it like How to Be a Godly Parent or something
We'll
like
get
that.
there. We'll get there one day.
We'll stay on track one of these
I think
episodes.
everything we talked about, that's kind of the point of why God made you who you are.
Yep.
This is how you become authentically and real. Like the you that you will be meant to be.
Right, but I do love this because this is very humbling for me. Of like, okay, I can see how God has touched every single one of us differently. Especially again, my brother, I've known him my entire life, and he's watched me in the path that I've gone through, and being able to be asked, just like, hey, knowing the man I am, like, will you, be the minister for me and him and my sister-in-law's wedding? And I was like, I was already trying to do that, but it's like, damn, like, do that at me, like, you're gonna do it now. God's like, your brother's gonna ask you, you're gonna say yes, you're gonna do it. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm doing this. I had no training, no equipment at all. But everything that God's put me through recently in the last 5 or 6 years has got me there. It was beautiful to watch, beautiful
But
to
in
do.
a
So
sense, too, that is like a great gift given to you by the Lord. Because like not many men can share that with their brothers. Not many men can have
Exactly.
that like special bond with their brothers.
100%.
And that's something you can have and cherish forever.
Exactly. My brother isn't super religious. I mean, maybe he'll come on another episode and he'll be able to explain this and everything like that of talking about different topics. But he said they talked and they realized like who's a better person. We want to get married. Being married is in the eyes of God. But my little brother who has been on this journey, and he's much different, much closer. Whatever how my brother perceives God differently than me and religion different than me was like I'm still gonna be humble. And I'm gonna ask my brother to do it. I'm not gonna ask some random stranger who might be an atheist, might be a Buddhist. I'm gonna ask a Christian man and he's gonna do it. And I did it. I would ask him twice. So
That's awesome.
then we're gonna wrap it up there. I know we pushed a little bit, but I wasn't too worried about it. Thank our host for being here. I'll lead us out in prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this evening, for all four of us gentlemen here today, that we're all able to talk to each other, learn from each other. And anyone listening in can hear what we talk about, what we've been through, and just our perspective. It is our perspective, our trials, our test run that God is giving us. And if anyone is going through the same stuff or has the same questions or sees similarities, that they can use what we've taught today, and just be equipped through that, or use this as a tool to be equipped when they go through the same trials or their own trials, Lord. And no, you're not alone. You're not alone as being a father. You're not alone as being a man of or woman of God. So just giving it to Him and knowing that whatever you need and want in life, you will get it. Just be patient, and it will come to you. In your Lord and name we pray. Amen.
Amen.